Hello everyone and welcome into this session. If you're joining us live, then please go ahead and use the chat panel as we go through. If you are watching this on demand, welcome, and we're going to be having a lot of fun as we go through this session, having a look at how we can bring business intelligence and the analytics of data into our RAD Studio applications. So BI is a really hot topic at the moment, and within the Idea group we have one of our sister companies is Yellowfin, who are one of the market leaders in business intelligence software. And the great news is that they've got a really extensible API. That means we can do a huge amount in terms of integrating and white labeling and bringing this powerful engine to go way beyond what standard reporting can do and provide hugely valuable business intelligence to the end user in their workflows, enabling them to make much faster business decisions and drive their business in a way that is very appropriate for what's going on. So this is, I say, a very hot topic area. I'm going to introduce myself quickly. My name's Stephen Ball, and I'm going to be taking you through this session today. I've been around with Embarcadero since 2011, and I oversee the pre-sales team globally. Now, along with myself, we have a number of pre-sales engineers around the world who are more than happy to get onto a call with you to discuss what you're trying to do around your applications built with RAD Studio and help advise you to move forward. And part of that also includes giving you pointers around the whole BI platform area. So please do feel free to reach out to us and get connected. So the session today, we're going to have a quick look at what a BI platform is. We'll have a quick discussion around some of the architectural wins that you can use here. One of the big things I'd say is that having a BI platform available to you provides a hugely powerful and valuable capability that you can plug into your application very, very quickly. And so regardless if this is an enterprise application that you're building in-house or if it's something that you're building and then selling on to other people, Yellowfin is a very powerful option to have on the table. So using some of the tips we're going to have a look at today as we go through, you can get up and get this integrated in and provide out almost immediately some very, very powerful capabilities. And a lot of this is very topical at the moment as well, especially around the governance and the data security side of things, and also ensuring that accuracy of data is guaranteed. So there's some really important things to kind of have a look at there that allow you to focus on the core part of your business and your product and your offering, but still enabling the data and the data interactivity to come alive and bring the value out of what you're gathering through your applications. So once we understand a bit about the architectural wins, I've kind of touched a couple of bits very briefly there about the benefits of BI and having an integration with the platform, but there's some huge things that we're going to touch on, not just about data security and governance, but also kind of the speed and the time that you can react with things and the way that you can engage and share those stories around data internally. We'll finish off having a quick discussion around some of the OEM options, but obviously one of the most important things today we want to do is actually have a look at this running in code and have a play with that. So I think let's start off there actually. Let's have a quick look at this running and then come back and work through some of these slides. Okay, so this is a sample application that you can go and get from GitHub right now. We've got in here two versions. We've got one built for FireMonkey and one built for VCL. They're just using the web services API, all the REST API to connect up to Yellowfin. And let's just go run this and we can give you a quick overview what we've actually got in this sample. So first and foremost, we're just telling it where the Yellowfin server is. And Yellowfin runs as a web server and it's built on Java, but you just have the runtime. You can deploy that alongside your application. We have a site number because within Yellowfin you can have multiple tenants, so we just say which site it is, and then we're using the credentials that we have for the admin user to connect in. And then if you've got a specific user you want to log in, then you can either log in just with their username if you've got the admin credentials, or you can just use their username and password to log through. So let's just quick test. Everything's good. Let's go ahead now and pull back a list of the reports. So this is a list of all the reports that exist in Yellowfin. I can also pick up a list of favorite reports for the current user. So here's my favorite reports. I've got 2 favorite reports. So let's click on one of these to load it up. And we can see here we've got male and female broken out with the athlete demographic spread. So it's quite a pretty report. This is just pulled back as a bit of HTML. In fact, we can have a look at the source here. This is just plain HTML that we've pulled back from the web service, and then we just load it into the browser. It's very quick and easy to do. We can see behind here what's driving this data. Now, the data itself is collected and managed through Yellowfin, but if we actually have a look at the schema here, we can find out the data types and any display labels. We can see here that there's a number of different filters. These are drop-down filters. So if we actually go back to the browser here, we can see that. If we drop down the filters, now these are all just individual frames that we've generated and built this dynamically on the client side here. So let's go ahead and enable this. We'll just run this back for the adventure category. So there we are, we can see that. We can also, if we switch to text, we can see the data that's come back. This is now in a CSV format. So if we wanted to work with that on the client side, we can go and have Yellowfin collecting the data, managing the merging and everything else that's going on with the data there. And it can be from multiple different data sources as well. And then we've got the output of our data here, which we've been able to pull down into the client. We can now do additional work with that through a client data set, just loading it in as you would any other CSV. So pretty powerful. And we can also export it out as a PDF or an XLS. So let's just run that back here. Let's also just switch this into interactive mode. So by doing that, we can now see we've switched this browser up to a more interactive area. We can hide the filters or we can apply the filters through. So for example, if we can see here, we've got the adventure filter that's come through on the applied filters. So let's just hide that for the moment. And maybe let's click on one of these. We can now filter it, keep it, exclude it, and we can play with different elements here. Let's have a look at one of the other reports. And this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. We can see, okay, well look, we've got 2016's done quite well. 2021's done quite well. Let's have a quick compare though. And if we click on here, we can explain what's been going on here, or we can compare it. So let's compare this 2021 to 2023. Now this is for the European region, and we can see here that there's been a big difference between 2021 and 2023. We did much better in 2021, but why? So we can start seeing some auto-generated content explaining what's happened. We had high-value goods. There's quite a big one that's gone on here. That's a bit of a variance. Okay, we can have a look at the difference between camp region. We can have a look at the variance by demographic. So automatically it's gone through and it's picked up and tried to present the data out to us in different ways to help us understand what's going on within the data. So really, really powerful and useful capabilities to have. Now we can also see from here we can create users, validate users, update them, and we can run single sign-on to log directly into different parts of the system. So we can create a report. We could go ahead and go into the administration section, so we can view our data sources. We can add users and roles and those types of things. We can have a look at our timeline and have a look at data that's been run over different periods of time, see what we've done and what we've interacted with. We can set up and run signals which allow us to pick up data outliers and watch out for specific things happening. So we've got here an outlier for campaigns. So this is pretty cool. So yeah, lots of different stuff that we can set up. So this is a quick and simple overview, but already we've seen single sign-on directly into Yellowfin with data embedded into a Delphi application. So let's go back now. We've had a quick look at that. I wanted to show you, obviously, Yellowfin itself. So let's just log in here with the same user that we've just been logging in as. We can see our dashboards, which we haven't explored through the application yet, but you can pull those directly up as well. But let's go ahead and browse. We can see here's the different reports that we've been looking at. Here's my favorite one. You can see it's got the favorite marker against it. And you can see this is the same embedded content that we've had. The only difference is we've, on the embedded side, we've disabled the additional navigation just to keep it to the core basic functionality. And we've hid the log out. So, beyond that, we've taken a lot of what's there, pulled it straight into the main application. And obviously from here, we can broadcast it, we can share it, we can favorite it, all those types of things. Okay, so we've seen some data from an external system embedded into a Delphi application. So what is this business intelligence all about? Really, it's about the process of creating from the raw data that you have that's been collected from the applications actionable insights. It's about supporting your business, and we've just seen kind of that we can jump into the signals where we can get alerts to have it automatically monitoring what's going on as well. But we can get actionable insights that help support the decision-making processes that are going on. Getting your data, understanding your data, and making it possible to react to what's going on is what BI is all about. And that's what Yellowfin enables you to do. There's been a lot of research from analysts looking at how BI brings value into organizations. And running your reports once a day or once a week, it's great, it's useful, but having it embedded into the workflows that you're running, as you've just been able to see that you could easily do with Delphi and RAD Studio and C++ Builder, that's where the real value comes in, because straight away now people are able to see a report filtered against a specific client at the right time when they're trying to make a decision. And that could be as much as going, well, hey, these people used to be paying every 20 to 25 days. They've suddenly jumped to 40 to 45 days. Maybe we need to be a little bit strict in terms of the terms that we're providing them, or we need to find out what's going on there. Are they a good business decision to sell to this customer? So getting it into the workflows is key to making sure you provide the value back. Now, the BI platform itself, we've had a quick look at some pretty cool features there, and we've barely scratched the surface though. What a BI platform enables you to do is to make these timely decisions, but it's making it based across multiple different data sources. So where we've just seen the application, there's no single database connectivity within that sample, nothing. All the data you've just seen has been driven and pulled directly from Yellowfin. So Yellowfin enables you to connect to lots of different data sources, bring that data together. It understands the business rules around your data and the metadata. And that's one of the most important things, especially when it comes to security and governance. When you can understand the data and the rules around the data, then you can make sure the right people and only the right people see data at the right times. And one of the big things that really sets Yellowfin apart, when you're looking at integrating into a BI platform, there's two places that security is implemented in applications. It's either in the data layer, so in the database itself, where you've got user roles and username passwords put in. Or what happens with a lot of applications is they're developed with a single username and password connecting to the database. And the reason they've done that is either for simplicity, and then they implement their own user security inside the application, or it's for portability. When you're building something and you want to be able to run it on either Interbase or SQL Server or Oracle or Firebird or Postgres or whatever other database that you want to work with. If different clients want to run different databases, then quite often you'll implement the security level within your application. So when you then start looking to add in a BI platform, all of a sudden you've got all this security layer that isn't implemented there that you're trying to connect up and use. We'll have a look at how Yellowfin addresses that in a very unique way that allows you to benefit from either the database layer or the application layer being where your security is put into the application. Now, what we're able to do as well is keep the governance around that data. So one of the things that we often see is data being pulled out of reporting engines and then converted into Excel, or being pulled out of CSV files because they want to create charts that they're then going to put into presentations that they're going to share with the board. And it's really important they bring the different charts and the data together. What I'd be asking is, why should that data be coming out of any of the applications you've got? As soon as you do, you then got data that's outside the governance of your application. That becomes a security risk. And also it becomes an operational risk. If you're bringing and copying data into spreadsheets, are you always querying the same thing time after time? Are you always keeping the data sources up to date in that data sheet? What if you update one but not another? Are you then going to get skewed data that isn't going to be showing what we need to? So being able to bring all that data together is really, really important. And that's where things like presents and stories within Yellowfin are really, really powerful, enabling you to have the specific user seeing the right data at the right time and having all that data automatically presented in a way that you've defined already, which is really very powerful. Other things that are quite important around Yellowfin is the natural language querying capabilities. And natural language query, in fact, I've got a slide here on that. Natural language query allows you to actually just kind of ask a question of Yellowfin, and it will guide you through the type of questions to ask and the type of verbs to use at different places. So it helps advise, okay, you want to ask a question? Great. Are you asking, you want to compare something? Are you asking to see something, as a value set? What are you wanting to do? And it will work you through that, helping you make sense of asking questions in the right way. And then what it provides you back automatically is the right kind of chart based on the data question that you've asked. And you can modify that. You can then take that directly and put it into a dashboard. You can start editing it and monitoring it and do what you want to do with it. But it's really, really powerful capability, the guided NLQ. We mentioned signals and automatic discovery a couple of times, maybe not without pulling them out, but signals are a very, very powerful capability and allow you to monitor the data, pick up outliers that are kind of outside the norm, so you can go and get those checked before anything else kind of happens, and make sure you're keeping on top of things. I've had one customer in the past who saved themselves a huge amount of money when human error automatically had modified the wrong item to be sold within a sale, and they put a large bottle with spirits with the smaller bottle pricing on it. All of a sudden, people were buying an awful lot of the 1 litre instead of the 250 centilitres, and the alert was able to be picked up quite quickly, identify what the issue was, and get it resolved. So it can be to help protect you against things, but also it can be to see where things are going really, really well and where they're not. So I think we kind of covered most of the bits that are there. And one of the things obviously about a BI platform, really to get it into the workflows, you need to be able to embed it directly into the application. And Yellowfin comes with 3 different APIs, with a SOAP service one, with a REST one, and with JavaScript one. So regardless of where you want to embed it into, within a Delphi application, or even maybe having charts and dashboards integrated into intranets, you can do all of that very, very easily. There's also a number of advanced authoring capabilities within Yellowfin, which is a great thing to have around when you're wanting to view data without necessarily having to drive into all the data and back up all the time. It's a lot quicker to navigate through data or to identify things that you want to go and have a look at, where you can see a snapshot view of, for example, how those sales have been going. So, for example, here we can see there's some liquor sales, and we can see the monthly sales. There's quite a big spike in the middle here, so let's go and click on that and drill into it and find out what's going on. Whereas Fireball's been relatively flat, but it looks like it's on a slightly upward curve, which is great. So yeah. Now, I've mentioned data-led presentations. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back into Yellowfin and just show you some of the presentations, and they are very, very powerful. Let's jump out here. So I'm just going to go and browse, and I have got in here some presentations. Here's my monthly sales deck. So let's just go ahead and have a look at the monthly sales. And you can see this has been generated up a little bit like you would a PowerPoint presentation. And there's an editor in here to help you design and produce up your data. But you can see straight away I've got a chart in here. I can actually start clicking on this chart. I can start explaining, comparing, filtering. I can start working around this data. I can get a lot more information just by hovering my mouse over specific areas to see what the data and the categories reflect to. Even though I've got a legend here, it's quite a useful way to be able to work through. And again here, if I hold the mouse down, I can see actually the values across all these lines here. So not only can I see the data, but I can also get in to see the values across each data point that I want to. Again, I can click in on specific parts on the pie chart. So really, really powerful way to be able to kind of work through and drive the data. And again, the key thing here is this data can be broadcast now. It can be shared to multiple different users. It can be defined as well. So if you've got, for example, a store manager, they can come in and run this report and see their store's data. You might have an area manager who can then actually come in, run the report and see it across their area. And you might have somebody from head office who's able to see across all the stores. And again, this is a very, very powerful way to be able to have something consistent, but personalised to the local area as well. So why would you want to integrate a BI platform into your product? Well, firstly and foremostly, if you're building this in-house, this is a great way to be able to add a huge amount of value and get your data shared out very, very quickly. What it also enables you to do is to start bringing in other systems and platforms. So, for example, if you wanted to bring in data from Google Analytics, you could do that. You could bring that into Yellowfin, have that combined with the data from your database, and be able to show combined data through Yellowfin without having to do the work of building that into your Delphi application. So that's a very powerful kind of option and avenue. If you're looking to provide this from an ISV point of view, then you're providing this kind of capability out to your business users. And we're seeing a lot of people nowadays are aware of things like Microsoft Power BI and maybe asking about integrating into that platform or to Tableau or other similar BI platforms. And here we have one of the market leaders fully available for you to embed into your own application. Now, what that means for you is that you're not leaving money on the table by doing a bit of work and then letting it go elsewhere. You're actually being able to expand the revenue streams that you can provide, not only with additional software sales, but additional services and also gain additional points of contact where you're learning more about the customer's data, which provides you a much more trusted level of position with your customer, and also to bring back and learn best practice that you can feed back into the development of your ISV products that you're selling out to other customers. So it makes your products inherently more valuable by being able to understand and learn the data that's going through them and improve your workflows based on the kind of data that's being fed back. Finally, it saves on development cost. BI is a big space. There's a huge amount going on there, which is why people are looking at best in breed. And without having to build and develop everything, you can just license Yellowfin in and off you go. And you've got a team and network of people around the world who are working and specialists in Yellowfin who are then able to be brought in as well. You could even outsource some work to them as an additional capability. So there's a lot of stuff that you could look at doing by bringing in and having a BI platform. And I think most importantly, when it comes to positioning in the market, the additional data governance and security capabilities that having a BI platform like this bring in around your data are very, very valuable and can really help win out on some of the larger deals. Now, the final point I want to make is that when you start providing a capability like this into your customers, certainly, and what we've seen, they quickly come around and go, well, this would be really cool to be able to have this on some of our other products. And what you can say to them is like, well, this is fine. We have an API to this that you can connect up, and you can embed this into your other products that you've got there as well, and run that through our platform. But in addition, what you can do is you can actually bring data from different platforms together and then bring it in. And then you can start using even advanced capabilities like action buttons to be able to view data from one system in another, and have, if you've got an API there, you can actually use the action buttons to launch a process or to initiate something from the other system. So we've seen, for example, with a HR system that has a help desk product as well, where the tickets come into the help desk system, they've got a link to the HR data, and they can click on a button to launch directly to that record in the HR system from the help desk system. So it saves time and effort, and it speeds up the workflows, improves the productivity. All these types of things are very, very powerful at bringing data together. So I just wanted to kind of touch quickly on the evolution of some of the architectures that we've been seeing. I said earlier we're going to have a quick look at the architecture wins. Obviously, a long time ago we went from this monolithic design where we had the user interface, the business logic, and the data access layer all kind of combined together. And we've moved much more towards having separated business and data access layers, and the user interface separated through. And this is great, provides us much more flexibility. This is things where DataSnap and Midas and those type of technologies came in. These have been around for a long time, but nowadays we're working a lot more towards microservices. So this whole idea of having best of breed and being able to bring in and merge different systems together is something that a lot of people are open to. So going back to what I was just saying about having the best option that you can then spawn around, when they start picking up and using your BI layer within other applications within your within their suite of products, it becomes a lot harder for them to take you out of the equation and replace you with another microservice doing something similar. So it's a very, very powerful way to kind of be right in the mix and a key central part of the whole ecosystem. So when it comes to the actual architecture here, I think we've seen already our native application with the Yellowfin running inside of it. And we can also have obviously our native applications just running native clients. The thing that's really beneficial here, obviously we've seen how to be able to pull both static report and also the interactive ones through. And this embedded content that we're pulling back through really helps expand out and can be embedded into our workflows. But we can also have just the Yellowfin client running. So if we want to provide just reporting access into the system, we can do that directly through the Yellowfin client. You can control programmatically access to the system, which is pretty powerful. Once you add somebody on, it doesn't necessarily mean they can add directly through the Yellowfin client. They may have to come through your application to get in, but you can define it up so they can go in both ways as well. It's very flexible in that regard. But the major benefit here, being able to expand our native clients with the Yellowfin content into the workflows, means that beyond just the normal application and database access, we're now able to take advantage of all the additional data sources and the data connectivity that is going on within Yellowfin. And this whole approach means that where we have data sources that we don't reach currently, we can now reach them, and we can expand out and connect them in and merge those in for the reporting part of the data where we need to. So what that means is your application is a lot cleaner, there's a lot less testing, there's a lot less development. You can keep one thing very good at one job, and then get the best of breed feeding in and doing its part of the job, but still benefiting the rest of the application through this integration. And that's immensely powerful. And the great thing here is we could have, as I mentioned, different data security models. You may have something applied in the database here, you may have something applied in the application layer here. But when it comes through to Yellowfin brings all these different data sources together, and then it allows you to do some basic data transformation to get the data into a reportable format. So for example, replacing key values with the actual description. So for example, instead of having level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can change that over to excellent, awesome, super awesome or whatever it is that you want to put in there. Um, that data source is then pulled through to these views. And through the views, and the freehand SQL could be pumped into a view. With that, with the views, you're then able to apply on here any additional data substitution or data filtering that you want to. So this allows you to mimic application layer access for specific users and groups into Yellowfin. And by doing that, straight away, you're now able to bring and work with an application that has application layer security or an application that has data layer security. It really doesn't mind. You can bring whatever data you want through, add additional rules and security and business knowledge around that to filter that data. And then once that's done, that then provides you a clean point for all the features and capabilities in the BI platform to run. So it's fully governed, it's fully managed, it's secure, and it also gives you a whole load of flexibility, because if you want to change your data sources in the future, you can go ahead and change your data source, just remap it into the view, and then straight away all your reporting and management that you spent a lot of time building and creating will just run on top of it. So it gives a huge amount of flexibility having this architecture in place, so very future-proofed. Obviously from the views you can then have it monitoring running signals in the background, you can generate reports and then have those reports pushing into dashboards, or then using the content to go out into stories or into the presents. We can push the content out into the timelines, so as you're interacting with stuff you can go back and have a look at what you viewed and what you accessed and everything else like that over time as well. So a huge amount of powerful capabilities built in, and everything running off a very secure and security-led point of view. And this is actually one of the major strengths that Yellowfin has over a number of the competitors on the marketplace. The security model and the way that it's been architectured within Yellowfin has helped Yellowfin win out a huge number of deals against some of the more, some of the big names that you'll hear out there, like Power BI and Tableau and so on, because it very much is suited not only to this, but because it can run both hosted and on-prem with data security embedded into it as well. It's very, very useful for pretty much any use case. Now, I also mentioned multi-tenancy at the top, and this is one thing that's really powerful when you're working within large organizations. We may have multiple stores or multiple areas, or when you're working as an ISV, when you might have multiple tenants, where you might have multiple customers working. And what it allows you to do is build a whole load of default functionality and reports and dashboards and everything that you want, and manage that centrally, but then have that pushed out into each client org so they can inherit through from the base org and use that. And then at the client org level, they don't get to see the data between their client orgs. And you can have databases being connected up from different databases. They just substitute from the main database to the local database, and up it goes and runs. So you could have that with different data combined in, or you could have it with completely different data. Again, it really is up to you what you want to do with it. It's very, very powerful and flexible. Okay, so before we get back into a little bit of the code, I think we've touched on a lot of the benefits for having a BI platform integrated in. Obviously, it makes your users much more efficient and improves the value of your product. It simplifies the architecture of your application when you're trying to bring in lots of different data sources, and also where you've been using Excel or spreadsheets to pull data out and to bring it all together. It takes all of that worry and headache away, providing a pure governance model where the application data is managed and secure within the application rather than coming outside of it, which is a big security issue. It can make your applications a lot more sticky, because when customers start using this kind of capability, it becomes critical and essential to what they're doing. And the ability to share this type of capability across different platforms as well really, really makes it super, super beneficial. And helps improve some of the workflows as well, being able to link systems and launch systems from one to the other. It also helps you reach out to a whole new broader personality persona, where your applications have been very much maybe targeting the end user who is the man on the ground or the woman on the ground building and doing stuff day to day with the organisation, you're now able to tap into the C-suite and to higher level echelons of the organisations and their customer bases, because they're the people who really want to feed on this data and make some business decisions based on it. And by providing this kind of into them, it adds additional visibility and capabilities that are hugely valuable to those types of people who are key influencers within the organisation as well. And the great thing about embedding, Yellowfin in as a BI solution, it's super quick to do. You can literally be up and running within the day, and you've then got a huge capability that you can push out to market pretty much straight away. Obviously, we'd recommend having a look at a Kickstart program, which is we have Yellowfin partners around the world who would be hugely beneficial for you to spend a little bit of time with, to go over your product and your services and what you're trying to do, and to help them help you, get some of these amazing dashboards put together very, very quickly. It's a really useful exercise to kind of go through with people who live and breathe this analytics and understand presenting it to different types of business users. And it's a great way to upskill yourselves to use a Kickstart to get going on those. But if you feel comfortable to do it, you can just go ahead, pick up and go. Okay, so let's jump back into the source and have a look at what's kind of going on behind the scenes here. Okay, so within this application here, we have got a main form. And the main form hasn't got a huge amount of code going on underneath here. Really not a lot. Just setting the active tabs, depending on which what thing you clicked. Just checking if we've got any data, and if not, reloading the data through. And then when we change tab, we just load specific frames in as required. So very much loading on demand. So based on the tabs here, we've got, let's have a look at the report list one. And again, the whole idea of building this with frames is that you can literally pick these up and load them into your applications today. We're having a look at the FMX ones here, the VCL ones, very, very similar concept. You just pick them up and go. And you can then modify, enable, disable what we want. The run report here, we've got two sections. We've got one for the static report and one for the interactive report. The static one literally just picks up which option it is that we're doing, and then creates with a set of defaults. So we have this Yellowfin defaults, and Yellowfin defaults here is a method that brings back this object here. So you can put this object into your application, just set your properties, and everything else will just run off the back of that, which is very, very nice and easy to do. So this has got all the basic connectivity built into it. You can copy and modify this. Here we're using an ini file. Obviously, you probably want to put this into a database somewhere, but this is there, just a good example to get up and going with. So we create, with the defaults, a request. We add the report ID to the request. Now the request is a SOAP object here. Let's go find SOAP object. You can see this is just a remotable SOAP object. So there's a lot of properties on here. It's fully documented. You can understand all these different properties, what you can do with them. But obviously you don't need to do a lot with them. You can just work with the basic content that's in here. Set the report ID. We then have a check against any filters. So if we've loaded any filters, we go then find the filter and set the filter into our filters property on the request. And then we can go ahead and send the request to the remote web service. Now, if it comes back as a success, we're able to pull the data that's been pushed back. And here we're just getting a temporary, we could load this straight into a stream and load it in. We're just caching it into a local file just to aid debugging. And then just updating the file path onto the screen just so you can see. Obviously, you might want to take that off for what you're doing. And then once we've got that down, we're able to just navigate through to that data that's been pulled through, and job's good. If we're just loading the source, so it's a CSV, then we're just going to load up the lines into a memo so you can see the data there. So very, very simple, and then just set the the correct tab that we want to view and disappear there. With the interactive one, it is very, very similar. You can see not a lot of code in here at all. We initiate the browser to make sure that's loaded in. We're then building, using the single sign-on URL, we're adding a view report, which we're then passing the report ID from the list, from the selected report. And that then pulls back the report and shows it on the screen. Now, when we do this generating a single sign-on URL, the value that comes back as a session token is a one-time use token. That allows us to get in, get going. You can obviously click on do whatever you want to do within the actual application, within the browser. But if you try to use that token to log in again, it will not work to log in again. And it's integrated in with the user security from Yellowfin. So even if it's a report that a manager can see, and you shouldn't be using it, and you try to pass that ID in, because your username and password are not valid for it, it will just take you to the main dashboard page rather than showing you that data. So really, really simple. We've got another option here just to reload based on different report options. So we can say, hey, give me my favorites, give me the ones that I've created, give me the ones for all users, the reports. So if we just go back and have another look at that. It's the reports. So this has pulled back the full list. If I change this to my favorites, that's gone and executed that code, filtered it back to the favorite reports that I have, and I can toggle reports on and off. So if I go, let's go back to all reports, let's have a look at this athlete location one. And let's go ahead and click to favorite that. Again, that's just another web service call, single line of code to toggle it on and off. And we go back to my favorites now. That's now showing there, and this will reflect directly in Yellowfin as well. So whatever you do in the web interface, immediately showing within the application here as well. I say there's no data connectivity within this application whatsoever. The filters for a report that has got a filter on it. Let's have a look here. These are all frames that are just being dynamically built up depending on the type of filter that it is. So you can see examples of how to use those filters and how to apply them in. And that allows you to provide filtering based on static content. If you're using interactive content, then the filters, you can set Yellowfin up to manage the filters and remember the filters for you or not. And you can set them up to show or not to show, lots of different options, but there's configurations that you can work with there, depending on what you want to do. Now, the other part I just want to show you is the single sign-on. Here, we're just going to go to timelines, and we can see everything we've had a look through today. I've viewed these items on the 12th. I can see I've viewed these ones today. Okay, so it gives me a whole chance to jump in and have a look and view what I've looked at over time and make sure I get back to where I was. But again, this is all running on single sign-on. So let's just close out of here and go back to our main form. If we go to the single sign-on, we're setting the tab to single sign-on. And if we've not loaded the Yellowfin browser, then we're going to go load that. And again, this here just enables us to log in. You can see we've got generate a single sign-on URL using the entry point text that we've passed in and navigate to it. So this is again using the SOAP call that we've got here. We just pass in the entry and the entry point, and there's a whole load more that are documented that you can have a look at and play with, but really, really simple using some pretty clean Delphi code and these examples here to get up and going. So you can embed these in very, very quickly, copy some of these frames across, and load them on demand as you've seen there, and be up and running very, very quickly. Okay. So the last couple of things just want to point out, all the data I've been having a look at today is part of the demo. So there's an all-in-one Yellowfin Docker instance and you can use the command above to pull it down. I've been running it on port 9999 on my local host, remapping that to port 8080 on the container, which is what Yellowfin is published on. And yeah, so this is just the command that I've had running on my local machine here. That initiates the Yellowfin server. The only thing that you need along with this is just a developer license, and you can get one of those through the Yellowfin website. Yeah, pretty straightforward to do. And then yeah, just go to GitHub and you can pull down the source code for the Yellowfin example. That's on my Delphi Ball GitHub repository. So here's the link here, github.com/delphiaball/Yellowfin. So getting a little bit more of an understanding, I'd definitely say go and have a look at this embedded analytics overview from Yellowfin on YouTube. It's a great video showing you some really cool stuff, and in a very flash way. But it's about 15-20 minutes and time that'd be well spent if this is an area that you're looking to kind of go into. Also, we've got 2 blog posts that are up on the Embarcadero blogs. One taking you through the sample, and the other one showing you how to get the Docker instance up and running if you get stuck. So both very, very quick ones to watch through with videos and blog notes there. Okay, so I think that's it for today, really. We're time to open up for the Q&A if you're watching this live. If you are watching this on demand, then please feel free just to reach out to any member of our team here at Embarcadero and or Yellowfin. We're more than happy to answer your questions about BI and the Yellowfin product and the integration with RAD Studio. So again, thank you very much for joining us, and let's open up for Q&A. Okay, so we've had quite a lot of messages coming through the chat, and that's great to see. We've got a couple of other people who are helping out with the questions in the background as well. So yeah, let's have a quick scan down some of these questions and see if we can answer through some of those. There's a question here asking if Yellowfin can be connected up to MS Analysis Service database. Yeah, it looks like it can be. You can connect to any database that you can with the JDBC connection, and I believe that's one of the Azure databases, so it should be possible to connect up to that. Obviously, when you've got your data local to where your instance is, it can run a little bit quicker, but obviously if you've got a good connection, then it should be absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. Question here about, is this a replacement for T-chart in Delphi? T-chart is great. There's lots of charting components that you can use inside your native applications and run them fully inside your Delphi or C++ builder applications. Yellowfin it's a separate application that runs. It's a full BI platform, and with that, you do need to have connection across to it, and it's all kind of embedded in here through the browser. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily a like-for-like replacement, but I think the best way to look at this is kind of a maturity curve. When you are looking at providing reporting and analytics within your application, what you can achieve with T-chart out of the box is some basic level reporting, which is fine for doing kind of cache up reports in a POS system or some basic summary data. But when you start wanting to kind of interact and get the proactiveness and everything that's running around, that's kind of when kind of the BI systems come into their own. And what we've seen a few people look to do is actually provide a foundation level within their application, and you can use T-chart for that, or report builder, fast reports. There's a number of different reporting components for Delphi and C++ builder. But then to offer an advanced module, and obviously that opens up, especially if you're an ISV, it opens up a big additional option around the business side of things, to sell the additional license through, and to then have the services and everything else that goes along with it. So, question: is there a trial available for this? So the source code to do the integration is available freely. You can go get that. If you are watching this live, then please have a look in the GoToWebinar control panel. There you'll find in the handouts section a PDF to download, which is one of our info docs talking about Yellowfin and Delphi. If not, if you just go to the Embarcadero blogs and search Yellowfin, you'll find 2 blog posts come up, which have the kind of the core part of the information there. The trial is in essence, you can get the developer edition. We'll send you a link over for you to license an instance of Yellowfin. What it basically does is it's slightly limited in terms of the number of cores and users that can connect in, and it has a watermark over everything. So as you're logging in, you kind of get messages popping up that this is a demo environment. It's perfectly adequate for getting up and getting going. And one of the things that's actually really quite nice from a developer point of view, even without knowing anything about Yellowfin, the ski team data, which is the example data that comes within Yellowfin, all in one instance, that ski team data has an embedded database in there with it loaded in, and provides simple samples of pre-built reports and dashboards and presentations and all the other kind of stuff that goes on within Yellowfin. And that means that you can get going as a developer straight away. You don't need to kind of start building any content. You can just use the API, connect up and pull this information directly in and see kind of a proof of concept of it embedded into your application very, very, very quickly. And then once you get to that point, it's then a case, okay, well, look, I need to pull my own information into this now. You can add an additional data source, start building up your views and your dashboards and charts using the Guardian NLQ to get you going very quickly. There's lots of stuff you can do to get started. And that's really when kind of you know that you can do something with this and you can see the power of it. And that's the time to kind of then sit down with somebody, maybe go through the Kickstart program, or to get a Yellowfin expert to work with you to package it up and get it ready for market. Or if you're using it internally, we've got a partner network around the world who can work with you if you need them to help point you in the right way. One of the other things, if you have a look in the info doc, there's the Yellowfin University, which is free and online. That's available and you can access that to work your way through everything you need to know about using Yellowfin. And that's a great way to be able to upskill very quickly as well. We've mentioned about the source code samples. Again, that's on Getit. Sorry, not on Getit, on GitHub. So if you go to GitHub and then search for Delphiable, you'll be able to find those bits there. There's a few questions about different chart types. I say Yellowfin will work with any JavaScript chart. There's a whole load of them embedded in that you can use. And if you need to do anything further afield, then again, you can go ahead and pick up any JavaScript chart and get it going quite quickly. And we'll have some blog posts and videos and bits coming out on how to do that actually in the next few weeks. So there's a question here about what's the advantage of using Yellowfin as an external service versus using Python for Delphi to get a BI chart from Python libraries. There's a number of Python libraries out there to do different things. It really depends what you want to do. Obviously, Yellowfin is a whole BI platform, not just a few charts and elements. So I think the whole one of the major reasons why we actually see a lot of people looking at Yellowfin to embed within their solutions is there's a big push to the cloud. 100% there's a big push to cloud. But with that said, there's still a huge amount of people who are local and want to have the offline resilience or need to run it offline. Yellowfin is used by the National Health Service in the UK. It's used by the Ministry of Defence. It's used by a number of huge organisations who have strict requirements around their data security and governance and where things can be controlled and managed. And the great thing about Yellowfin is that you have that option. You've got that flexibility. It's not a case of turning up at a customer and going, well, yeah, if you want to use part of our product and what we're offering, you need to have your data accessible outside and always on. And if there's ever any problems, you just can't use that. No, everything can be hosted alongside your application. So resilience-wise, that's absolutely amazing. And we know there's countries where, even today, connectivity, telco connectivity is flaky at best, and you need to have everything running offline. So one of the major benefits here is obviously you've got everything pre-built there, ready to go, and you're not having to worry about all the additional stuff around the edges that you'd need to glue together. The data security model within Yellowfin and how that bridges across, as we mentioned earlier, for a desktop application that's got the security built in the application or one that's got it built into the database. The flexibility is there to be able to help and manage and to deal with that. And that's kind of critical to making sure that you can provide something that's well governed and is going to fit most use cases out there. So that's certainly some of the stronger things I'd point to. So there's a couple of questions about connecting to the API. So the sample that we've got there is very much using some of the SOAP API that's available for Yellowfin. There's also a REST API. The SOAP API was the original one that's written for Yellowfin, and the REST API is pretty comparable now. So you can build and use both. There's no no right or wrong one to use there. I say the sample wraps up the basic functionality and gets you going in very, very quickly. But if you're looking at it and you want to build it, then we've got a developer guide as available as an additional info doc, which can help you work through. I've worked with both APIs. They're very similar. The SOAP one's a little bit simpler in terms of the authentication, but the REST one is very powerful as well now. And there's a couple of questions around, what's the Yellowfin cost and those kind of side of things. The best thing to say, please connect up with one of your local sales reps. It's not a straightforward question, bit like any platform. There's options to price per user, by CPU core. It really depends on how many people you're wanting to connect in, what type of deployments you're wanting to do, the quantity of deployments. We've got customers who are deploying Yellowfin who've deployed close to 2,000 licenses across multiple different companies, and have it embedded in, have it fully white labeled, so they actually call it something else completely, and then actually have taken a copy of the documentation and rebranded that completely. If you want to grey label it, so you call it something else within your application, then you can do that, and then just point to the Yellowfin documentation for everybody who needs to know anything about how to use the BI element of it. If you just want to have it called your Yellowfin module within your application, then again you can do that, and then obviously we can work with you with preferential pricing to resell it on through to your customer base, so you've got margin to work through, and can be the first line of call for any services and all the other kind of stuff that you want to do. So and one of the things that I would say is there is a great partner network around the world with Yellowfin. So if you are looking to add BI and you're not quite sure where to start with it, we can always buddy you up with a local BI partner who can then become your second or third line service offering that you're reselling through to your customers. So that is always something you can look at doing and have that as a way to increase your revenue streams, increase your capability, increase your product offering, but at a very low footprint cost to you and to your business and risk to you as well. So there's lots of options around that. But as I said, please reach out to your local sales reps and they can help you get that discussed. So there's a question in here about row level security. I don't know, Srijan, are you, is your mic working? Are you able to unmic, mute?
Hi, Stephen. Yes, can you read the question for me?
Yeah, sure. So the question here is, how do you do row level security based on roles in Yellowfin? So Srijan is one of our Yellowfin experts here internally, so I'll hand that on over to her.
So yeah, sure. The first level of architecture in Yellowfin would be multi-tenancy. That takes care of a lot of data level separation at the client level, and we also have row level security, which can be linked to the roles into the parent application as well, which restricts the data. We refer to that as access filters. I can search and send a link here in the chat for documentation on how access filters works in Yellowfin.
Yeah, access filters are pretty cool. You know, you can start restricting data at a row level. So you know, it is very useful. Let's have a quick look. The code sample, again, if you have a look in the handouts section, it's on GitHub at Delphiable, and you can pull down the sample from there. I'll just I'll find the link quickly and paste it into the chat. Okay, any last questions? Otherwise, I think we're at the top of the hour. No, okay. So I'm just putting into the chat now there, Jordi, the link for the sample. So yeah, this is a very powerful option to bring in. I think for me as a developer, when I've been asked to link to other data sources in the past, 90% of the time it's always been down to wanting to do specific reporting or combine data together for showing within the application, nothing to do with the actual core product that I've been developing. And the ability to kind of get this up and running and pull this in, and to have everything then available online through the web is really kind of it's very cool. So you know, I definitely say, you know, go ahead and have a look at getting hold of a developer license, and you know, if you need any if you've got any questions, you know, the team is here to connect with you. So please do feel free just to connect in and let us know if you need anything. Okay, I think, yeah, a few thank yous and stuff popping through. So yeah, great hearing those through. The one thing I would definitely say as well, if you are Delphi developers there, or C++ builders, developers, we do have our major survey running at the moment, telling us what you are looking for in the product as a whole overall. So please do go and check out on the Embarcadero blogs, blog from Mark Cantu, talking about the developer survey. It's about 59 questions all in, so it will take, you know, probably about 20 minutes, half an hour to fill in. But you know, this feedback is the kind of stuff that helps shape the roadmap for the next coming, you know, 18 months to 2 years. So it really is important to go and spend, you know, a little bit of time just to feed in there, you know, what you like, what you want, and what you'd like to see kind of coming through in the future. So you know, please do go ahead and check that out as well. Okay, so until next time, you know, thank you to Dan and Srijana for helping with the questions, and happy coding to all of you. Have a great new year, and see you next time online. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining.